This is lesson 5.3, part 3. I'm going to be showing you how to factor by grouping and also how to factor a difference of cubes. Okay, first of all, we have a difference of squares, which we learned in chapter 4. So to factor a difference of squares, you should recognize you have a perfect square here and here. Since they are perfect squares, we can factor by taking square roots. Square root of 36 is 6. We'll need 1 plus and 1 minus in order for the middle term to add up to 0. Okay, so now for the main event, factor by grouping. To factor by grouping, you take your polynomial and make sure it's in standard form with your highest exponent first, and then you divide it into two groups. Once you have it divided into two groups, you look at each group as a separate unit, and so we're focusing just on this left side. What is the GCF on the left side? So we take out our GCF, which is 2x. That leaves us with x. Actually, it's 2x squared. That leaves us with x minus 1. Okay? Ignore the left side. Look at the right side. What's the GCF on the right side? So we take out a 3. That leaves us with x minus 1. Now we look at the left side and the right side, and we take out the GCF between the two sides. And what the two sides have in common is x minus 1. That's our GCF for the two sides. And then the two remaining pieces get put together in your second parentheses. So we have 2x squared plus 3x, or 3. This is factor by grouping, and that is fully factored. Sometimes your second factor here can be factored again. And if it can, then you go ahead and factor it again. Okay, last example we have here is sum or difference of cubes. To factor a sum or difference of cubes, I'm going to give you the generic way first, and then I will show you how to do it on these two examples. The generic way is you take something that is a perfect cube, so we'll call it a cube, and add to that something that is also a perfect cube, we'll call it b cubed. This will factor as the cube root of the first term, which would be a, plus the cube root of the second term, which we'll call b. That's our first factor. Our second factor will be longer. The first position here will be our first term squared. Our sign here will be the opposite to the one that we had in the first parenthesis. And then our second term will be the first term times the second term. And our final term will be the second term squared. That's how you factor a sum of cubes. If you're doing a difference of cubes, it's the same thing, only you have a subtraction. So this would be a minus b, a squared here. Switch the sign for your first sign here, which would be plus ab, and then this last one is always a positive. Okay, so taking our example, the cube root of x cubed is x. The cube root of 27 is 3. So that gives us our binomial. Then after this, we're going to take this first term and square it. We will switch the sign here to a positive. Then we will multiply the x times the 3. And finally, we'll take our second term here and square it. So that is x squared minus 27 factored. Okay, our second example, we're going to take the 8x cubed plus 1 and factor it. So the cube root of 8x cubed would be 2x. The cube root of 1 is 1. If we take 2x and square it, that gives us 4x squared. Switch the sign here. 2x times 1 is 2x, and 1 squared is 1. Factoring the sum or difference of cubes. Okay, that's the end of the third video.